Well, thank you everyone for accompanying us. Today we're going to talk a little bit about staying culturally relevant, especially with this generation of customers that are now being impacted by the use of artificial intelligence. We are also using artificial intelligence today to understand our customers better. So I'm going to try to introduce also a little bit of that idea of how we're living in this world where we think we understand our customers, but staying culturally relevant is not necessarily a function of technology, although it can help. So with that said, I would like for the distinguished panel to introduce yourself. And I guess it's easier if we want to start with Marina, please.
I'll start. Hi, everyone. Yeah, this acoustic sit is incredible for singing opera songs, I guess. Hi, I'm Marina. I'm leading customer experience team at L'Oreal. 10 years in beauty, advertising, marketing background. Before that, a couple of markets. Immigrated to the US 4 years ago. So the cultural shifts, that's something that I experience in myself and learn a lot about culture myself while you're moving and exploring new ways of even creating the beauty for different customer audiences across the world. So exciting to be here, talk about that, learn from my peers.
Thank you, Graham.
Hi, Graham Neuburger, President and Head of Marketing at Beekeeper Coffee. Previously was at Olipop, which was my first kind of foray into the beverage space. But prior to that, I spent most of my career, over a decade, working in the world of sneakers and apparel with the likes of Nike and Converse.
Hi, y'all. I'm Kellie. I lead integrated marketing at ŌURA. I see some of your ŌURA rings, and I love it. I am responsible for growing brand love and, of course, business impact, really focused on brand strategy.
I'm Woodie, Hillyard, CEO, co-founder of a brand called W that I co-founded with Jake Paul. We're a better for you men's personal care brand. We sell nationwide in Walmart. Before that, I helped start a brand called Safely with Kris Jenner. And then before that, I was the head of e-commerce at Casper, the direct-to-consumer mattress company back in the day.
Excellent. So as you see, we have a diverse audience with different products and services that they target. So what I would like to do now is actually ask questions just to get us all grounded, right? And feel free, any of you, to respond. So the first question that I have is, how does your company define cultural relevance for your brand and customer base? And what strategies have you implemented to stay culturally relevant with today's evolving customers? I'll let you choose. You can go ahead, please.
I can start. We actually had a very nice conversation with brand innovators earlier this week about that. I will tell about the beauty challenge because all the brands that you know at L'Oreal, they're global, like L'Oreal Paris, Garnier, Maybelline. So for us, it's always a question how to stay culturally relevant, but then keep the brand consistency, but also appeal to different understanding and perception of beauty across different regions. Because if we'll take Eastern Europe and then the US and then Asia, the perception of beauty will be so different, and that's always rooted in the culture, the way how we behave, the way how we express them ourselves. Because always when you think about beauty brands, we're so connected to all the cultural shifts, cultural trends. There are even this lipstick effect, which is very popular measurement that allows us to understand the global recessions and helps to measure what is going on with the consumer cultural shifts based on the global political events. So we're always connected to culture and always try to measure how it works for different markets. The biggest challenge for us is how to create consistent brand with the same messaging, with the same tone of voice, while also appeal for different audiences. And I'll give you an example of one of our biggest brands, L'Oreal Paris, which is 120 years old. And can you imagine how challenging that is to keep the brand identity and then also change this identity and evolve with the culture to appeal for different audience groups. And then we also have the cultural shift, the layer of different cultural background by region, and also the generational shifts, because the Gen Zs and Gen X, in terms of their perception of beauty and what they want, they also are different. So it's always about reading the insights, thinking about your consumer and talking to them, because what we as marketers sometimes think, it's not what our consumers think. So it's always about removing everything that you know and just appeal to the data and insights that you see. So that's a short answer.
Thank you. How about for you, Graham?
Yeah, I mean, I think to start, coffee is culture. You know, it's been a part of culture, pretty much every culture from the beginning of time, which is obviously an amazing foundation to build on. But where we see the opportunity for us is that coffee isn't a part of popular culture in the way that at least the youth sees it. You don't see many coffee brands, if any, in the world of sport, in the world of music, in the world of fashion. And that's where we really see the biggest opportunity to weave ourselves into that in a very authentic way. And we're not, here to force our way in. I think the beauty of all this is that coffee is already a part of all of those things. It just hasn't been story told with that manner. You'll find coffee in locker rooms. You'll find coffee in green rooms. You find coffee on tour bus. You find coffee in the studios. But yet, no coffee company has been able to tap into that, or at least has tried, and that's what we're looking to do. And then at the last piece, I would say, again, a focus for us is really focusing on, we see culture as an onion, and at the center of that onion is youth culture. And regardless of, how much spending power youth culture might have, by far they have the most influence on spending. And so for us, that's, squarely where we're targeted and using those mechanisms of sport, fashion, and music to talk to that consumer authentically.
Amazing. Kellie, Woody, would you like to add to that, please?
Yeah. So for ŌURA, we are the makers of the ŌURA ring, which is a revolutionary smart ring, and it tracks over 50 plus biometrics from sleep to stress, etc. And something that I really love to do is, how many watched White Lotus? Just a raise of hands. Exactly. So White Lotus is a huge cultural moment. And I think brands really, if they're doing it right, have a responsibility to respond to the moment as it's happening. And any ŌURA ring member will know that when they are watching a show like White Lotus and say there is a blender scene where someone is making a pina colada, that their stress levels might start raising, and then they might open their ŌURA app and look and see that their stress levels are raising. And at ŌURA, you can create a custom tag for that. So you can create a custom tag that says White Lotus, that pina colada scene, and really be able to track that data over time. And so we like to embed into moments like that and really leverage places like social to really have that conversation with our members and say, like, we see you, like us too. And it's a really fun way to take this product that is really so focused on holistic health and wellness and also embed it into, what's happening for us on a Sunday night.
These were all such great answers. I think cultural relevance for us, I think similar to coffee, personal care is something that, men and young men are using every day. So the way we thought about it as we were launching a new brand into this space is like, where was the cultural white space for us? And with this younger generation of men, we saw a big opportunity to inject a new kind of evolved version of masculinity into the marketplace, trying to, like, our brand stands for win. It also stands for the work you need to put in to get the win. And our goal is really to inspire young men to, put in the work, achieve their goals, which really isn't a message they get from any of these other personal brands in the space. And I think cultural relevance is also interesting, especially for the younger generation today. It's all about entertaining and like gaining permission to be in a person's life. So I think we think about that a lot. Like, people are on their phones like 8 to 10 hours a day, right? And as a brand, you have to earn the right to be on their screen and for them to want to engage with you. So I think we definitely think a lot about that in terms of how are we going to put out content that will, people want to engage with, they'll share with their friends. How do you capture that cultural moment in a brand? I love that example, like in a brand relevant way so that it doesn't feel too forced. I think, cultural relevance is a complex one, and it's changing so quickly. So you just have to be adaptive, and I think entertaining and, earning your right to be in someone's life is really, really important.
Oh, that's amazing. And I also see a little bit of, sometimes you have to create the culture. And I see it on some of these brands, so super interesting. I'm gonna pivot a little bit to the use of technology because I think it's important. We've been using artificial intelligence now for decades, actually, in the industry, segmentation, testing, and all that. But generative AI has come in the last few years to really revolutionize because it gives us a number of things. It gives us the ability to first understand intent. It also gives us the ability to have memory. And with memory, we can have more context and be more effective. And with these large language models in AI, it's really revolutionizing all we can do, not only with text, but with images and all that. So my question for you right now is, how has AI transformed your marketing strategies and operations over the past few years, especially in response to shifting customer behaviors and brand relationship? Let's go this way.
Yeah, I can start. I think AI has just been a tool to supercharge creativity for us. We use it in a variety of ways. I think one of probably my favorite example of how we've used it, which is more of a one-off than something we do evergreen, but do you guys remember when the AI deepfake craze was going around the internet? That was right around the time of our launch, and we had this idea of why don't we send people deepfake videos of themselves? So we created 75 influencer kits and created deepfake videos of that person talking to themselves from 6 months in the future. They had a horrible catastrophe go on in their life. No one wants to talk to them because they smell so bad. Thank goodness for this product. And it was awesome. I think we got over 200 million impressions on the internet from it. I think our most viral one was Little Yachty, got about 40 million impressions on his account, and then we got reposted by Complex and a few of these other centralized accounts. And it was just really fun. And there's no way we could have done that without the power of AI. It still took a lot of man hours and a lot of creativity to get those videos made, but that was probably my favorite thing we've done with AI. And then just in terms of creative brainstorming now, we're using it every day. You can, script out an idea and then you can drop it into a generator. It'll make a video or make an image of it. I think it's really the iteration time from idea to concept is now like hours instead of days or weeks. And we're really pushing our team to use it for photo asset generation, video generation, UGC generation. I think it really can supercharge creativity in a really, really fun way.
Excellent. You want to comment on that, Kellie?
Yeah, I think from a marketing perspective, I really enjoy using AI as a social listening tool. So our members are extremely active. If you have an ŌURA ring, you're probably really passionate about your ŌURA ring and the data that you receive, and you want to talk about it. You're on Reddit forums, you're on Instagram, on ŌURA Ring's Instagram. You're really engaged. And so one thing that we definitely use AI for is being able to understand what's the tone of the comments? Like, what are people really liking about this partnership we have with Natural Cycles, for example? What are they not liking about it? And really being able to pull all of those comments and tone and understanding of, what's the pulse of the member base? And so that's something I will say that we really, really leverage AI for, to really understand our members.
Great. Graham, do you want to chime?
Yeah, I think similar to Woody, we use AI, I'd say, most prominently in our creative. A lot of essentially AI-backed CG work around product. It's extremely cost-effective and extremely fast. I think we did one actual product photo shoot in the very early days, and I don't know if I'll ever do one again, given, again, how much money we put into it and how long it took all to pull together. And now we're, banging out multiple assets almost every single day. And that's really, but through the help of AI. I'd say the other piece for us that we lean on AI that's been extremely helpful is on the product side. When we were initially creating the product, a big thing for us was finding out, outside of obviously the obvious, which is tasting amazing, what are the other key kind of benefits that people are looking for? And really led us to ultimately where we landed on is, as low as possible from a sugar standpoint, as low as possible from a calorie standpoint. Mentioned previously that I was at Olipop before this. Part of my time there, we spent about 6 months doing research and ultimately getting to a brand platform that we launched. But also part of that was finding out, why our consumer base was buying our product. And again, 6 months and a whole lot of money at the end of the day for people to come back and say, I buy it because it's low calorie, low sugar. Like 99% of people. So that's massive. And then I'd say the other component of that is future innovation. Finding out, where that unmet need is. That is what led us to develop a horchata latte, which is currently being tested right now. But we hope to launch with a pretty significant retailer very, very soon.
Amazing. Marina, you guys do amazing stuff. I know we work together on a number of projects.
We do. I think we actually did with you guys those virtual makeups in Teams during COVID. That was very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that it was like a breakthrough, and I think it was our global team working with your global office. But when the first it started, like we were all obsessed, especially like all the women in our office. They were like, okay, I don't need to apply makeup. I just use the virtual makeup on Microsoft Teams, and that's amazing.
It really changed things, and it's still there. So it's an amazing product.
Still use it.
Yeah, really good.
So
Excellent.
if you guys don't know, in Microsoft Teams we have virtual makeup powered by, I think it was Maybelline or
Maybelline, that is
Maybelline.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if somebody needs that, great tool, especially when you're in a rush, early in the morning. You don't need to apply makeup anymore. I see you using that. Okay.
Amazing. So I'd like to switch to some individual questions. I had an opportunity to talk to you earlier, and we talked about different things. So I decided to pick some questions that I think are appropriate for each one of them. So I'm going to start with you, Marina, if you don't mind. So given your experience in e-commerce, omni-channel, how do you manage to stay culturally relevant and align across different channels?
It's a good question, considering that we have both direct-to-consumer business and e-retail. I think it's always important for us to understand that there is a consumer and then there is a customer. And the way how we distribute our products, it's either direct-to-consumer or it's through our customers, which creates this complexity about like, who do we need to like serve our products first, and then our assortment is usually like, if we take one brand, the assortment it will be like 3,000 UPCs, and then like if you work with the 5-10 brands, which we usually distribute from one retailer, it's like around 10,000 UPCs and a bunch of different products within beauty categories. So with that complexity, what we're trying to do is always like using social listening, ratings and reviews, and things that will help us to understand what customers and shoppers want from us, because I think the most important thing is to always listen to your audience. And since e-commerce and the retail, it's a lower funnel of your marketing experience, we always are closer to the shopper, and all the feedback and all the conversations we're having with them, they're very utilitarian. We can also see what they like, what they don't like in terms of packaging, color, the application, ingredients. So we do have this data, and then the way how we collect it is usually like social listening tools. AI helps a lot to aggregate that. Even if you look at the ratings and reviews across retailers right now, they started to use generative AI to aggregate them. So Amazon already has it. I think other retailers already have the capability to aggregate and summarize what people say about your products. So it's very helpful, and you can gain a lot of information just from analyzing what people say about you online. Reddit is another good thing, TikTok, Instagram. So based on that, that's how you can stay culturally relevant on all layers of marketing funnel, starting from product development, because if you listen to your consumers, you can change the product. If you listen to your consumers, you can change your communication and distribution channels. So basically everything that we see from e-commerce world and the way how people shop with us, it actually infuses you 4P strategy, and you can use it across your product, price, promotion, everything that you want. And I think it's important to create this feedback loop between different teams, because usually sales teams who are working with shoppers or retailers, they are very deep into operations, sales, things like that. So it's a lot of upskilling to teach those teams that this information is important, and we need to get this information to the right stakeholders in CMI and marketing or integrated marketing teams so that they can apply it for their campaigns, their messaging, their communication, product development. So I think that if we talk about big companies with thousands of employees, I think the most important thing is upskilling education and streamlining all the different departments so that this mechanism works all over and over and helps us to stay culturally relevant. And I would say in beauty, we used to say that we like to move with the speed of culture. So that's something that is very important. If we see a TikTok trend, we need to action on this in 72 hours. That's the speed that we're trying to maintain. That's why all these triggers that we listen are very important. And there are so many ways how we can action on that will drive sales and commercial strategy and the right activations across retailers and D2C world.
Super insightful. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Graham, how do you leverage your creative to connect with consumers and ultimately drive revenue growth?
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to obviously what industry you're in terms of what product you're selling. And I'd also say where you are in your journey, right? We are very, very, very early in our journey with Beekeeper. And so really a lot of our focus right now is at point of sale. You know, when it comes to the world of food and beverage, you know, the one non-negotiable from day one is your product better be good or you're done. You're dead in the water. But after you nail that, then there's a lot of different directions that you can go in terms of where you want your priorities to be and where you want your focus to be. And for us, it really lands on creative. And it starts with the can. You know, a key element, especially for a new CPG company, is how are you attracting an audience when they're walking down an aisle? How does your product jump out, especially as it relates to the rest of the set? Woodie and team have obviously done a great job of that as well. But that's instrumental to what we do in terms of, again, the look and feel of the can, future innovation, how we're developing that. We want to make sure we're always standing out in the coffee set. And then the other piece of that is, which is massively important, is memorability, right? How do you become memorable? And as much as a lot of people might think like, oh, an amazing logo, beautiful logo is what's going to be memorable, it's really more about how does that logo and that name all connect back to, again, what your product differentiator is. And so for us, again, it's one of the easiest pitches that I have to make to people. So what's your coffee? I'm going to say, take a guess. Coffee with honey. There you go. And so again, everything that we do then is wrapped around that, from creative that you start to see on our website, on Amazon, other things we do from a product standpoint. We always want to make sure the honey component is pulled in. And that's, again, a massive focus for us.
Excellent. Hey, brand's role in relationship to culture. This is could be philosophical, but I would like your position as it regards to brand's role.
I think that brands really have both an opportunity and a responsibility when it comes to culture. So when I think about ŌURA, when I first started, many of the women in this room will know this, the research around perimenopause and menopause is nascent. You know, if you're experiencing perimenopause, it's very likely that you're not sure if you are. Your doctor isn't sure if you are yet. The information online is unclear. And we saw that as a real opportunity to come in from a brand perspective and drive clarity, but also support. So we partnered with UC Berkeley to drive research. We created, I mentioned earlier, the tags in the app. We created perimenopause specific tags that women said that they were experiencing, so they can chart those symptoms over time and then show their doctor, you know, I think I am in perimenopause, and here's why. And I mean, that's a huge cultural conversation that's happening, you know, in text chains and group chats over dinners. And so I think from a brand perspective, to be able to drive that with product support and really like scientific rigor is like a real responsibility, but also it's exciting. And then from a different perspective, I think, you know, when I think about the sort of like wearable space, there's a lot of performance focused, you know, so it'll be about like pushing yourself to your limits and like getting your max. And I think that's incredible. Like for certain people, that's awesome. But there's also a really opportunity to own movement in a way that's not just for the youth and is not just performance driven. And I think ŌURA is really owning that from a movement perspective. We say all movement counts. And that really shows up in the app as well. So if you are pushing a wheelchair, that movement counts. If you are doing yoga, that movement counts. If you are trimming a hedge, that movement counts. And I think that's like a really strong position from a product perspective, but also from like a cultural perspective where, we're told to walk 10,000 steps a day and we're told to do all these different things. And we're really saying that like, every movement that you make really does matter to your overall health and wellness.
Amazing. Woodie, as a social native company, right, wondering what is the most innovative and disruptive thing that you've done with AI in the market?
Innovative and disruptive thing. I think I kind of hit on it already with our influencer kits. But let me think. Innovative and disruptive. Yeah, I mean, I think it was our influencer kits. I think that probably was the most innovative thing we've done to date. We're working on some innovative things in we have up our sleeve for the summer. I think a few of the things we're excited about on the AI front, one piece is automated UGC. I think Jake loves being on the cutting edge of technology and is very open to using his likeness to innovate and using his voice. So I think we're going to be doing a lot of things over the next 6 months around that. How do we help automate a bit of Jake's job within the brand and tailor him to promote the messages we want to get out? We're also looking to engage with our customers, like similar to using AI to understand sentiment of your customers' comments and reviews. I think we're really looking to leverage AI to engage with our customers on a day-to-day basis, minute by minute. We have some fun things in the works there as well. I think AI, I hope, is going to help supercharge our ability to interact one-on-one with our customers and also understand what they care about in real time. Because I think these feedback loops within companies usually take such a long time. I guess that's probably one of the areas I'm really excited about is how can we leverage AI to iterate around our customers' needs quicker. And like the great thing about product development cycles, especially as we shift towards more of a digitally native company, launching Amazon, launching TikTok Shop. We're hoping to iterate around customers' needs more, and I think that is going to be supercharged with AI and some of the platforms we're working with.
Amazing. What advice, and maybe we start with you, Marina, on advice giving. What advice would you give to other leaders about staying culturally relevant? And if the use of AI is something that can support you in those efforts, please also chime about that.
Okay, I think as marketers, we always need to open our hearts and ears to everything that we see and hear across us. Like even when I was thinking right now about this discussion and what you brought up about ŌURA and how people are like obsessed with the data. I'm a ŌURA member, and like now I was thinking while we were talking. So I actually upload my ŌURA data in ChatGPT, and then I ask ChatGPT to analyze and give me suggestions. That could be a good cultural moment for Kellie and her team to understand that if users, they do that, that's probably can be a use case to create something that will help them to like serve customer needs. And if somebody wants to go deeper in analysis of their data, that should be something that will help to do that. And I think that just even sitting here and talking and just bringing this in as an example, that's actually what every marketer should do. Like be open to your customers, listen to what they say, ask questions, don't close yourself, don't try to think that you know better, because usually we don't know. And I think by staying open and trying to use all the cultural social listening tools, it will help you to actually find the truth and create the right product for your customer. And I think AI helps a lot in that, because again, in the world of this buzz, a lot of media and a lot of information, we always need to find tools and ways how we can aggregate this in a digestible action plan and understanding like what exactly this information means. So I think like my thought about AI is always related to the fact that AI needs to help you to become efficient, but I don't trust that AI will help you to think and do your like creative and branding job. This is something that still should be human, and I think that the more we transition to Gen Zs as the majority of our customers and shoppers, the more we realize that for that audience, culture, community, and everything that creates sense of belonging is so important. And that is why, like, I believe that for us as marketers, branding, strategy, and communication is becoming the place where we still need to focus on the capabilities around building this sense of belonging, while AI could help us to aggregate this data and focus our efficiency on what matters, while like delegate an analysis to the machine. So I think that it's also very important that yes, AI is great, but let's make sure that we stay culturally relevant by like trying to create the sense of belonging through our human minds.
Thank you. Loved your perspective on seeking to understand. We often listen and don't seek to understand. So really great point.
Yeah.
Graham?
I think for me, it's I guess part advice, part belief. You can't buy your way into culture, right? You got to be invited in. And so I think for us in these early days, we're really focused on that mindset. And the way we look at it is, you know, how do we support culture and support community? And then with patience and obviously consistency, you know, eventually you get pulled into the equation. So, you know, for us, from a cultural landscape standpoint, a big emphasis on product seeding. It's massive for us. Our founding group is very entrenched in the world of sports and entertainment. Clutch Sports Group, you know, over 600 athletes across football, basketball, soccer, et cetera. And so getting our product in people's hands is a massive starting point for us. And then similarly, it's how do we partner with brands again and communities where the product naturally fits in and is a natural benefit. So think run clubs as one example that we're going to continue to invest in. We actually are working on a partnership with Nike right now with their women's race tour up down in LA in June. So again, helping out where we can, and you know, again, over time and having that patience, that diligence, you start making inroads.
Excellent. How about for you?
I think that the main reason I am in the position that I'm in is because I am extremely curious. Like, I'm a very curious person. I want to know more. I want to know more about that. What if we did this? But have we thought about that? And I'm like much more interested in questions than I am in answers. And I like being around other people who think expansively. And so when I think about like culture, I think often we talk about culture as this monolith, but culture is like it's 1,000 cultures, 1,000,000 cultures. I mean, there's 1,000 cultures probably in this room that we all straddle. And so I think my best advice is to be curious and to talk to as many people as possible and to try to get into as many rooms as possible. And your curiosity will really bring like incredible insights, and also just will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm hearing a common theme, which is don't think you know it all. Stay curious, seek to understand. And I love it. At Microsoft, we've been through many transformation, and lately with the helm of Satya and Adela, we went through a cultural transformation inside the company. And it's about growth mindset. And those are some of the pillars that are basic foundations of a growth mindset. So love it. Woodie?
Yeah, I think my advice would echo a lot of the points that have already been risen. I think curiosity is so important. I think one of the lessons I learned really, really early in my career, working as an investor in New York City, is that, I am not the customer. It's so important to get out in the world and meet your customers and understand what they care about. If you're selling to someone who's living in, Indianapolis, Indiana, like go to Indianapolis, Indiana, spend a couple days there, walk a Target, walk a Walmart, because they're
No more than a couple days, though.
yeah, no more than a couple days, but it's just really helpful to get out of your bubble. And I think, I do think some of the tools that are being invented, as we speak, that allow you to understand data, allow you to understand markets, allow you to understand customers. Like one of my favorite tools, and I can't wait to see where this goes, back in the day was Google Trends. Because we think, oh wow, this trend in New York, it must be, going crazy everywhere, and it's only in New York, right? Maybe eventually it'll make it elsewhere in the country, but oftentimes it doesn't. I think that's like one of the really, I think being curious, digging into the data, understanding if what you think people care about, they actually care about. I often think, I've seen this a lot in business, or in a lot of the brands I've worked with, where people will say they care about one thing, but they oftentimes don't act with their wallets. So just to understand what actually your customer cares about, what drives them, and what's going to allow them to connect with your brand. I hate to use the word authentically, but authentically, what do they actually care about? And I think you need to get to know your customer on a one-on-one basis, because it can just be, if your product strikes joy between one person and their friend, that is going to be a spark that will help grow the brand.
Excellent. Well, I think we've reached the hour. We may have time for one or two questions, so I'll open it up.
Oh, hell yeah. Thanks so much, guys. This is a fantastic panel. Great experiences across the board. Question I had, though, and we're talking about all the cool stuff and how to stay cultural relevant. There's a lot of risk associated with that, too, because maybe you don't know the culture that you're playing, or you're trying a new culture. So maybe individually, I'm curious to see or hear what's a big cultural action or campaign you've taken that was risky, that backfired, and why?
I don't know if we've had anything that has backfired per se, but I do think the beauty of the internet is that it's a playground. If you put something out on the internet and it doesn't strike a chord with your consumer, or it doesn't get as many views as you want it to, you take it down and you try again. So I don't, and I work with Jake, and he, at least back in the day, was more of a controversial figure. I think Jake now is very mainstream, but I'm of the mindset all press is good press. So you need to, I don't know, you need to, I think, roll with the punches, so to speak. I don't think I haven't really had anything that's been negative, but I think if something doesn't work, try it again with a slightly different way. The internet's memory is so short. So I don't know if I don't know, I would just advise you to try again. Maybe try a little differently. If it doesn't work, take it down, try again.
I agree. I think to me it's about failing or backfiring is just great information, and then you iterate and you try again. I think if anything, that can often be the best information.
Is there an example?
No, and there's nothing backfire. I'm no, honestly, there's not. I would tell you. If I had one, I would tell you.
I mean, it's probably less cultural, but I can tell you a recent learning that we've had on our end. We had entered into a partnership with the Portland Trailblazers this last NBA season. Never had a RTD coffee partner. After we announced that partnership, turns out almost no teams have a RTD coffee partner, because I got about 7 million emails from different teams around the country. But, I think what we learned really quickly is that as much as not everybody, a lot of people drink coffee, not a lot of people want coffee at a basketball game at 7:30 p.m. And we learned that quick. And so, I think with that, we've just pivoted. We've learned from it. A couple of things that we've done is we've really steered our attention to more daytime programming. So think the Soccers of the world, mentioned run clubs, other things. Shout out to Barry's Boot Camp, we're talking earlier. Things of that nature. And then the other thing that we also did, that we pivoted in real time, is that we now offer a cold brew martini at the Portland Trailblazer basketball games. And that has been a massive hit, more so actually on the music side during concert nights. I think Justin Timberlake's concert, we sold 800 of these cold brew martinis. So as long as I'm moving units, we're good.
Thank you so much.
I can tell. Like, first of all, I think if you'll put something online right now and put media dollars behind it, it's gonna backfire. Because if you're a brand, you need to be ready that people won't be happy. And the ones who are not happy, they will have loudest voices. So I think it's just the part of our culture that as soon as we will build awareness, as soon as our brand is out there, even like personal brand, and it's gonna be the same, it's gonna backfire. And that's the part of reality that we need to accept, that that's how internet works. Unfortunately, this is how our psychology works. But like, to give you an example in terms of beauty, we always in this constant ideation of what beauty is, and honestly it's always different. Like, sometimes our French office creates something like beautiful and polished, but it's not relevant for American customers, so it's gonna backfire. They're like, that's not real, this is not how we perceive beauty. If we're launching American brand in France or like Emirates, they think it's too different from their perception of beauty. So I think it's a constant discussion and communication. So I don't think that the word backfire will be the right one. I think it could be the outcome of you not listening to your audience. But in the end, you'll never have 100% of people agree with what you're doing. So it's just good if you will accept this reality and take it as it is, because it would never be just 100% satisfied customers. It's always going to be something that is related to the roots of their psychology and culture, so you need to be ready for that.
Just my 2 cents to close it up. I think what's important is that you measure, that you have the right KPIs that you're going to measure for, and that if you fail, that you fail fast. Don't linger around. Just move on to the next things and try it, and that's how you evolve and get better at it. Just my 2 cents. But I want to thank our distinguished panelists and the audience for this session. Thank you so much.
Yes.